So since this is my first video, let me start from the beginning. So basically I've been singing since I've been here. At the age of 3, I had my first gig, a funeral and a wedding. I mean a gig for real. I was paid. They put me up on a podium, and because of my adultness, they would call me the little girl with the big voice. People wanted me to sing for them and to them all the time. I was allowed to be in a choir that you had to be 5 years old to enter. But again, because of who I was and how I presented myself, because I was pretty much like a adult child. Now I'm more into being like a child adult. I want to have fun, I want to kick it. But when I was younger, I was very serious, very purpose, and very centered in what I was here for. And so my voice has always been a very, very significant part of who I am. So a question people often ask me is, how do you sing so powerfully, or how did you learn to sing this way? Well, I had a father that was a singer, but then he turned singer, preacher, and then his singing, as he said, went, by the wayside because he could only do one of those things well because he was so potent on the speaking side. So he would get me up in the morning and do these exercises. I'll give you an example. We still have it as a family fun thing when we see each other. It's goo 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 goo, ooh ah ee ah oh oh. So it opens up your vocal dexterity, for lack of better terms. But that was how I learned to open up my voice. However, and it was a joke, but I didn't know as I was joking, it became very real, and it was effective in just kind of exercising my voice. But the way I learned how to sing with power is that what he would say to me, do not stand before a crowd empty. You understand what that means? It means that I need to make sure that I am full in order to release something onto a crowd that will overflow. What did he tell me to be full of? He always said, be full of love. Make sure that when you stand up, you're so full of love that the person from the front of the room to the back of the room can't just hear you, but they can feel you. And so that's how I learned to sing with power. Let me tell you guys something. All that glitters is not gold. What do I mean by that? The journey, from being a singer to being a creative to being an artist to actually being a professional vocalist. Whew. Let me tell you something. Things that people really don't realize. Because you see me in public, you see me smiling, you see me laughing, you see me on stage and I look good, I'm feeling good, and you feel good connecting with me. But I can distinctly remember, I'll tell you this story. I remember I was losing the place that I was in because I had made a decision. I'm going to trust this whole journey and trust this music to take care of me. Because, sometimes you just have to, as they say, you got to burn the ships so that you can't get back on and go across to the other side. And so I was losing my apartment, and then after a while I lost the apartment because I just didn't have the money to pay. And I ended up in a hotel. Some very, very gracious friends of mine paid for a hotel, and then a woman that any of you who know me, and those of you who are getting to know me, you will get to know this woman, Sharon Waters, who has been my manager and my mama sister friend. She paid for me to be in that hotel for a couple nights. The decision was made while I was there, I need to move to. Another friend called from Chicago and said, hey, you can come live with me because I know by the way you sing, I just want to help you get out here so that you can get into this market so you can start performing there. And that worked, but let me tell you what happened in between. In between, I ran out of money. I ran out of resources to be in this hotel, right? It was time to be out of the hotel. They're knocking at the door, and I am freaking out because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, where am I going to be? Where am I going to be? And I didn't have anywhere to be. And the people that I had helped along the journey, I called them, and I can distinctly remember the phone call. One gentleman said to me, and he was in position to help, and he said, there was a number called 411, I think. Call 411. It's the emergency number that you use in order to actually get help. He was in position to help, but he did not help. I was very upset about that. However, I remember that this journey is not always about where you give is not where you receive. The manager of the hotel knocks on the door. She doesn't recognize me for who I am as a singer. She recognized me for who I am as a person. She says, you've come here before. You know, they like who I am. They like the energy that I exude. And she made sure that I did not go out on the street. It was winter time. So she knocked on the door and she took care of me so that I would not be, quote unquote, out in the cold. Let me tell you guys this cool story as to how I started singing professionally, which means when I started getting paid, right? As an adult. You know, I paid as a child, but I mean paid professionally. Again, Sharon Waters, who became my manager, said, this voice needs to be for the world. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. As a matter of fact, this is a thing that most people don't know. I stopped singing for, it was either 10 years or 8 years. I was done with singing. I was like, oh, I've done all I could do with singing. It's good. I'm going to speak now. I'm going to coach. And so I started doing that. However, I became a writer unconsciously. Songs start coming. I'd write those songs and I would share those songs. You know, when you're writing stuff and it's good to you, you want to share with people. So I started sharing it and saying, oh, I wrote this song and blah, 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 blah. And then one day in the middle of Sharon speaking, she says, we have a special guest that's going to sing today. I'm so excited about this person. You know, they've been in this industry, blah, blah, blah. She just went on with this beautiful intro. I was excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to hear this artist. She calls me. I'm like, what? She calls me up in front of an audience and a full house, and I get up and do my thing, and the audience goes crazy over the song. I remember it specifically. I am fearfully, or I'm perfectly and wonderfully made. That's the song, fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I started singing this song, and it resonated because it was really talking to us about how we are perfect just like we are. My first episode is in the books, y'all, and I'm so excited. So stay with me on this journey, and you're going to hear more about my coaching, my singing, my training, my team, and the world of Lisa Hightower. Thank you guys for joining me. See you next time.